Hi there, and welcome to the Untold Radio Network. You're on Down South Anomalies, episode 15.
Wow.
And you don't know how lucky you are that we're even broadcasting today. But let's start off. You're on stolen land.
Yes.
We want to acknowledge
the traditional owners, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation.
You're getting better with that.
I am.
And let's respect the elders, past,
present, and emerging.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
My name's Jay Katz, of course, and this is my beautiful wife, Aspasia. At the moment, I'm suffering an extreme case of tonsillitis. But when I was listening to Jeff recently on one of the podcasts and on Untold Radio, Jeff had actually fallen off his snowmobile, hit a fence. I think he cracked some ribs, and he was still
and got
going
up
ahead
and
with
got
the
on
show.
air. I know.
So we need to do this.
You can't be moaning.
Now, tonight, it's news, views, and lost media.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because we had two interviews lined up.
That's right.
And both individuals got sick
Yes.
at the very last minute.
Yeah.
So we have got some astounding interviews coming up. We're going to stack them up.
Yeah.
But what we thought, we'd fill this episode in.
Well, occasionally we get a backlog of things that are, there's news and stuff we want to talk about.
There certainly is.
And we don't get to do it before our podcast because we just go straight into the podcast. So every so often we will do a show like this where we're looking at, interesting news that's happening around the world, things that might be a bit weird and spooky and scary. We will look at things that are coming up on in literature, film, and television.
There's so much exciting stuff coming up in that regard.
And stuff that we find that's lost media that's still, just because it's old, it doesn't mean that it's not relevant.
Now, here in Sydney, Australia, we live in a warehouse. We have for 22 years, and we are literally hoarders buried alive. We have so much
far away from
original film stock. We have 16mm 35, Standard 8, Super 8. We have lots of antiquated projection equipment. We have tons of literature. We actually got donated a very incredible esoteric library, which we might run past people at some stage.
We've got to get rid of.
Well, let's give people a little idea of what the archives looks like. Here's just one small section of it. And that's us filming our Naked
Well, that
World
was
podcast.
our other podcast that we do. So in the front room, which is also doubles as a cinema.
And that podcast really is about counterculture and all those sorts of things.
And
it's
sort of everything that this show's about, really.
Well, it doesn't go into these topics too deeply.
No, it goes into the arts and into the arts topics more so than the esoteric, the crypto, the ufology. Anyway.
All right. We are so happy to have you with us. So thank you for being part of the Untold Radio Network. I tell you what, I'm really overexcited to be part of this network. The caliber of people that are being interviewed, the work by...
And the people that are interviewing.
Yeah, well, Dr. Dean Bertram has introduced me to so much astounding new literature.
So Dr. Dean does Talking Weird.
That's right.
And Mysterious Library.
That's right.
Both fascinating shows. There's and Jeff, who does Pine Island, what is it? Pine Island
Research.
That's it. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Now, I'm going to go down
That's
here.
That's a couple of the shows that are on this channel.
Let's start with the news. And something really astounding in the news of late is a new startup company. Now, this company is very similar to the German one we showed at the end of 2022.
That's right.
Which was about an artificial womb factory.
Yes.
Now,
I don't know when that's going to happen.
This one you're not going to believe. They have the greatest show reels. Yeah. This is for a company called Colossal Bioscience.
Yeah.
Now, do you know what they're into?
They're into genetically bringing back, what is it called? Extinction?
It's de-extinction. De-extinction is their buzz term, right?
Yeah.
So what caught my eye yesterday on my news feed, this is really current news. I think they've been in existence as a company now for about 6 months.
Yeah, right.
They've got millions and millions of dollars in this startup. And what it caught my eye is that they said they were bringing back the dodo bird.
Yes.
And also the thylacine. Now, we had a moment here, and we've got a great relationship
We
with the
do.
Australian Museum. We're
Absolutely.
going to have to get some of the scientists on there
Yeah.
to talk about when they were spinning that yarn, that the thylacine was coming
Because
back.
how long ago was that? That was quite a
It's
long.
about 10 years, maybe
maybe even
15
more.
years.
When they were talking about bringing back the
And then it all-
thylacine because they'd found a pup in a jar in England.
In Britain.
Yeah. Yes.
But, you know, I think it was not in formaldehyde. I think it was in some sort of amber or something. It wasn't
no,
very
not
good.
amber. It was some sort of it was probably
You're correcting,
methylated spirits or something.
You're correcting me here,
Yeah,
are
yeah,
you?
I
Live
am.
on the program.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway.
Well, I
so-
do it in real life.
But what they're saying now is that they intend to bring back the woolly mammoth.
Yes.
This is Jurassic Park.
It is. Well, they're saying that it's not Jurassic Park. There's a whole reel on there. If you look them up, there was a conference and
check the conference out.
Check it out.
What
I
was the
fascinated.
name of the film we saw in Mount Victoria? Was that about the AI, the artificial robot with the billionaire tech scientist?
Something machine.
Deus Ex Machina.
Was it?
I think it was Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah.
Very
What
similar.
could go wrong?
If you've seen that film, very similar.
Yeah.
You've got to look at their conference. Look them up. Colossal Bioscience.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at their show reel now. And you're on Down South Anomalies with Jay Katz and Aspasia.
The vast mammoth steppe of the Pleistocene era. Woolly mammoths, now long extinct, once roamed these northern landscapes in large herds, playing a critical role in the stability of their ecosystem. In the last half-century, however, these permafrost regions have begun to thaw at an alarming rate due to climate change and the loss of this keystone species. Over the last decade, humanity has made significant advances in understanding DNA and the field of genetics. Breakthrough genetic engineering technologies like CRISPR and others have made it possible to read, edit, and even write genomes. Combining these modern genetic engineering technologies with ancient mammoth DNA recovered from frozen specimens allows for the de-extinction of the woolly mammoth genome. Reintroducing the woolly mammoth to their former homes in the Arctic regions will help to bring balance back to the habitat and slow or even reverse the damage that climate change has done to our planet. Colossal. Restoring the past for a better future.
Restoring the past for a better future. It'll even bring back the original ecosystem.
How does
I cannot believe that. Look how
does that
slick
happen?
these show reels
Wow.
are. But in reality, this is quite a frightening idea.
Well, I don't know about a frightening idea, but look, you know, we ended up watching that whole almost the whole conference. I had to stop in the end because sometimes, yeah, they don't answer. You know, you ask them a question, but they don't really answer it because they've got a script that they're sticking to. But the whole thing about
I'm going to
It's
jump
like-
our script too that I'm sticking to here
right,
today.
okay.
Because we're looking at these notions of
Can I just let me just
sorry.
finish that
Yeah.
that thought then because
Sorry, my apologies.
that's all right. What they're in the end, when you get further into the thing, it's like, you know, into the conference, they actually tell you they're not going to bring back the woolly mammoth. They can't really bring back the woolly mammoth because they've got to get a you know, an Indian elephant
A surrogate.
to
A
be,
surrogate woman.
and then they're gonna you know, click the because of course an Indian elephant is not going to be able to live in Siberia because they're actually going to put them in Siberia where they, you know, where they lived originally. And the thing is they're not going to bring back that woolly mammoth. It's going to be, you know, mostly Indian elephant, which there's a problem with the Indian elephants too. They're actually under threat as well.
Of extinction.
And they're on the endangered list. And so it's like, why don't you try and save what's here already, right? Instead of trying to bring back something that's, you know, gone for a reason. I mean, there was some cataclysmic geological, you know, happening in where the mammoths were because a lot of them were actually snap frozen when whatever happened and they got extinct. So, and they also showed this white rhino and there's apparently 2 of them left.
Right.
Why aren't you trying to save, you've got the DNA, you've got the the genetics right there. Try and save what's already here and has been wiped out because of man's incursion onto their land and the hunting and all that sort of stuff, instead of trying to bring back something that's been gone for like 10,000 years. That just doesn't make any sense at all. Anyway, that was my little
Check it
rant.
out.
Yeah,
The case for de-extinction
Yep.
by the one and only Colossal
Bioscience.
a new startup company.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of fiddling around here, and I've always been curious about Rh negative and blue blood.
Mm-hmm.
Just check this little news item
It's one of the
out.
most unusual animals found on Florida's shores, but the horseshoe crab could hold the key in the development of a coronavirus vaccine. Pinellas County Bureau reporter Christine McClarty joins us now live in St. Pete with more on the impact this could have on the race for this vaccine and the environment. Quite a story here.
It really is something unbelievable. So horseshoe crabs are known for nesting along shorelines like this one. They're vital for our ecosystem, but their blood is what's vital for our healthcare industry and the fight to find a COVID-19 vaccine.
We're doing all this really fancy, modern, cutting-edge medicine, but we have to go back to something like the horseshoe crab to get the test that's validated to make sure that this vaccine would be safe for people.
The senior staff veterinarian for the Florida Aquarium says horseshoe crabs are vital in the process to find a coronavirus vaccine. He says their immune system is the most sensitive in the world, so they use the blood to make sure human and animal vaccines don't get bacteria in them.
Basically, the entire big pharma and the development of drugs for human use is sort of dependent on this lowly animal that spends, 99% of its time down in the mud.
Aaron Higgins says their Eckerd College research group has studied horseshoe crabs for 6 years. He says the animals have 10 legs, 10 eyes, and they're not even in the crab family.
They're actually more closely related to spiders.
Higgins says right now about 1 million horseshoe crabs are harvested every year in the Northeast, but medical groups have their eyes on Florida next.
They're not doing it yet, but they have the permits. So we wanted to get a really good idea of what the population was like before they started harvesting.
Higgins says they've been around for 350 million years, so many other animals in the water depend on them. He says if the horseshoe population were to decline too much, it could negatively impact the ecosystem.
I just really try to encourage people to just please be nice to them because they're very kind of harmless and super important for our system here, for our whole ecology.
And something else interesting that Higgins said is that the horseshoe crab isn't actually harmful to us humans at all. What looks like a spike, that spine on the back, their tail, it's not a stinger. It's actually used as a kickstand in case the horseshoe ends up on its back to help it flip back over. Reporting live in St. Petersburg, Christine McClarty, 8 on your side.
Thank you, Christine. You had no idea you're working for Untold Radio. But you know what the truth is there? Is Mr. Higgins himself. Be nice with these crabs. Listen,
Well, they're not even crabs.
You've got, no, they're not.
No, and they're not related to horses or crabs.
You know what? These things, he's got all these data wrong too. They've been around for another 100 million
Well,
years.
no,
400 million.
they found another one. They found one that was actually 400 and a species of the horseshoe crab that is 450 million years old. So they're even older than what they perceived them to be in the beginning. But here's what's happening to these poor things.
This is blood
and has
letting.
been happening since the 70s.
And you know what? They're becoming endangered as well.
Well, they are, because they
At least 30% of them
when
die
they're
in this
released,
process.
they
Can't go back. And when I look at that image there,
Yeah.
which is, and look at the blood, it is blue.
It is literally
Is that
blue.
literally what history told us?
The blue bloods. Well,
And
let's not go
we
there.
rust, don't we? That's how
We
we
do.
start
That's
to
why we get
decay.
old. Yeah, because we've got the antigens in our blood or whatever it is that rust us, that ages us. But these so what it says that that a gallon costs $60,000.
Wow, they're making
Because
a
what it
fortune out
is,
of
they've
these
been
poor
using it
things.
since the 70s. And what they do is they put a tiny drop into a vaccine so they've been using it to test the vaccines for a long time now. And when they put a drop onto a vaccine, if there's any bacteria or anything in there that can be potentially harmful to human or to anything, it actually makes like a coating
It surrounds it,
and
doesn't it?
surrounds it, and it shows up straight away. So scientists are able to detect if there's a problem with that vaccine, and this is why this stuff is so expensive. But the thing is that
Isn't
it
that
says that
incredible?
they're milking
Why
them,
don't
but
we-
they're actually draining their lifeblood because they take 30% of their blood.
Yeah.
They drain, they
I
drain
think
30% of their blood.
those stats are wrong. I can't see that crab
Well,
going back with the back of its
I don't
shell
know.
cut like that to live a normal life.
No, it's not cut. That's the front of it.
Oh, I see.
That's the front of the because you
Right.
can see at the back the
Yeah.
tails, that the kickstand thing, right?
Right.
So they milk them and then they release them. They milk. They take blood transfusion from them. They release them. They
Release
take
them back
30%
as
into the wild.
hemophiliacs.
Into the wild, and of course, and they don't even give them a sandwich and an orange juice
No, that's
at the blood
disgusting.
bank. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? They just release them back into the wild, and 30% they say die anyway.
Right.
So they actually need to be doing something a little bit more proactive to make sure that none of them die. Maybe take less blood from them more often. I don't know. It's just, it doesn't sound
Maybe
too good,
just
but
leave those poor things alone.
yeah, but
you
they
know?
need it for, we all benefit from vaccinations and stuff like that. So, what are you going to do? You kind of got to balance it. But yeah, why don't they try and, this bioscience, the colossal bioscience place, try and sort something out with the crabs and the animals that are already
valid
here,
point. Yeah.
Anyway. Who
Oh,
knows?
well, this week has been a crazy week,
It has.
but there's been a collision, Miss Death,
Mhm.
of incredible.
I'm not Miss Death here. I'm
No, oh,
Aspasia.
sorry, I left you there. I'm just so
That's
used
my
to
DJ name. Don't
That's your
forget.
stage
Yeah,
name.
That is my stage
So
name.
what a shock for people to hear that. But there's been a collision, Aspasia,
Yes.
my extraordinary wife,
Mm.
of literature that reminds me of like the patent office.
All
When
right.
all of a sudden an invention occurs,
Mhm.
and within 24, 48
Yep.
hours,
Mhm.
people are all putting in the
well,
same patents.
not a lot of, but quite a few, and that's that. I don't know. Is that pulling out from the ether?
So recently, thanks to Dr. Dean, hold one of these up.
I will hold
We
that one
came
up.
across these incredible works, Eulogy of the Soul and
Ecology of the Soul.
Ecology of the Soul.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
really, excuse me, I'm not that well. Joshua
Cutchin.
Now, Joshua appears on Mysterious Library discussing these astounding books.
Yeah.
There is 3 of them
Yeah.
because there is one book,
Yeah,
the third one, that is like 10,000 footnotes.
Yeah, we don't need the footnotes.
This
I'll just read the info.
guy has really a new mythology of death and
and
the
the
paranormal.
paranormal.
So,
And that's been coming out a lot, hasn't it? It's like, it's these books.
I mean, the Whitley Strieber documentary
Yes.
highlighted that
That's
for an
right.
issue. And then we've got to think of Leslie Keane's
Yeah.
book, Surviving Death.
That's right.
And if you haven't seen that series on Netflix,
Oh, it's brilliant.
it is probably one of the most
Very
important
comforting.
series
Mm.
to look at.
Yeah.
And profound.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
Christopher Noel, who we had on only a couple of weeks ago,
Yes.
and he is the one that has developed the theory that the Sasquatch,
Mhm.
the Yowie,
Mm.
the Yeti
The parallel hominid.
may not just be psychic,
Mm.
but may show traits of an autistic savant.
Right. Yes.
Now, that is an incredible work, and go up onto Amazon and check out the amount of books, the field guide, all that material.
Oh, yeah.
But he's
written-
come out with a new book, There Is No Veil, drawing from a variety of sources, both scientific and spiritual. There is no veil logically derives the afterlife and shows how the supernatural is natural, the paranormal is normal.
Wow.
This fresh and original synthesis, free of religious dogma, reconciles the long history of spirit contact and other psychic phenomena with the discoveries of modern physics. And you know what? This is
So you've
not-
started reading that because it only just came
it's
in the
knocked
post.
me over.
Yeah, it has.
It's
Knocked you for a
everything
6.
I've ever imagined.
Mhm.
And look, Chris was so, our relationship with Chris is building.
It
I'm
is.
profoundly touched by that man.
Absolutely. Yep.
But he sent us a copy of
He
this.
did. He did. And it's like it came within days of him saying
did.
he was going to send it. It was here. It was fabulous.
So I can't help but feel deep inside.
yeah. So what
that
have you
has
gleaned
great-
from it so far?
This is what I've gleaned.
Okay.
It's much better in Chris's terms.
Oh, in his own words.
And here's a brand spanking new trailer for the book.
Ooh, exciting.
Once upon a time, heaven, the celestial realm, was thought to occupy its own separate dimension. In my view, though, there is no hierarchy, no objective separation. That's just a mirage, a state of mind, a mere failure of imagination. This is why some people can see and interact with the dead, even touch and be touched by them. Logically, spirits can't be made of nothing. Groups of people see them. They've been photographed. Instead, they exist through a different sort of substance, far less dense and running at a much higher frequency, inhabiting with us this room and our one shared universe.
What is the universe? The universe is a physical system.
This is Seth Lloyd, MIT physicist and computer scientist. For him, information is not some ethereal abstraction. Information is physical.
Now, we've known for more than 100 years that at bottom, every atom, every elementary particle carries with it bits of information. So an electron, for instance, it has a spin, can only take two distinguishable values, spinning up like that or spinning down like that. So it's a bit. You could call spinning up a 0. You can call spinning down a 1, but it's a bit whether you call it a 0 or a 1 or not. The universe consists of information. Every elementary particle carries information, just like a bit in a computer, except smaller.
A whole new brand of physical reality, of information, has come to our attention in recent years, called dark matter. Dark just meaning invisible. In order for the motion of our galaxy, the speed and coherence of its rotation, to make gravitational sense, it has to be surrounded and permeated by what's called a halo of dark matter.
Not only could dark matter be going through me right now, but it almost certainly is, and I'm just not noticing it.
Regular matter comes in many different forms. There are electrons and protons, neutrons, quarks, all of those. If we can show that dark matter interacts with itself, that means there really could be dark matter galaxies, dark matter stars, dark matter planets and people all around us right now.
Since antiquity, spirits have been manifesting themselves in seances and hauntings. In light of the new cosmic discovery, it seems quite plausible that our own spirits are made of this counterpart form of matter. Under the right circumstances, the dead can reduce their frequency, blend with earthly matter, and become briefly dense enough to be seen and heard by living people. The two kinds of information are always together, occupying the same absolute space. If a spirit were to appear before you right now, it would be a brief, intention-driven reshuffling of the two types of matter, a change in their relationship, in their ratio. In 1921, Nobel Prize-winning scientist Charles Richet finally succeeded in capturing concrete, enduring proof of spirit manifestations. In a series of seances by Polish medium Franek Kloski, Richet and colleagues persuaded their posthumous visitors to solidify their hands and then immerse them in liquid paraffin, after which the hands de-solidified. The resulting paraffin gloves cooled and hardened, and then plaster could be poured into them to create these famous casts.
I tell you what, if you only buy one book this year,
Wow.
that is the book. And I really think, Chris, you're onto something.
That was an
here.
amazing way of explaining.
The
you know,
eloquence
Yeah, well,
and the editing.
there you go.
of Chris is just doing basically on his own is profound. And I'm
Amazing.
sorry if we taint any of that intent and eloquence with our kookiness, but I'm just mesmerized. And to me, it makes perfect sense. Aren't those hand casts?
Wow.
Just mind-boggling.
I'd never even heard of
No,
those
I've
hand
come across them
casts.
before.
Yeah.
And every time I do, I sort of push myself to try and remember, and then things get in the way.
Yeah.
And you realize that there is solid evidence out there.
Isn't it bizarre? Because if you keep getting hammered all the time with where's the proof? Why aren't there pictures? Why isn't there any evidence? And it's like there's actually evidence everywhere. I mean, I know there's evidence in at Stanford University. They've done lots and lots of but they have done ESP and
Open up
paranormal
the
tests and
section.
Yeah, and there's proof for for mediums and psychics and ESP but we keep getting told all the time by the naysayers that there's no proof. There's no proof. And you kind of think, oh, well, there is no proof.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Right. Doug and Alex on their show do a marvelous job. The chemistry is astounding, hilarious, beautiful, and very warm.
Yeah.
But Doug is a tech inventor, and he's aware that, at some point, the technology is going to get astounding. And when you can put AI onto a thermal camera on a drone to search for the parallel hominid, well, things may happen. And I've been saying for years now that the real arena in which these breakthroughs is going to occur is in the television and film world.
Absolutely.
Because it's amoral. It's after ratings, and it will throw the bucks and the specialists at it.
Yeah.
Well, it's just premiered.
Well, it has
this week.
Well, it has.
It has, and it's been thanks to EQ Media. It has been a good couple of years in the gestation.
It has.
But here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Here's a trailer for Close Encounters Down Under.
Large aircraft below 5,000 feet. What type of aircraft is it? I cannot confirm. It's four bright, seems to be like landing lights. It's hovering and it's not an aircraft.
Nothing was ever found of him or his plane. It just virtually disappeared into thin air.
UFOs have appeared everywhere in Australia.
And there's probably so much more anomalous activity based on the vast size of our country.
I have no idea what this thing is. The UFO had returned.
Whether it's a metropolitan city, a large town, a country road.
UFOs are out there, UFOs are real. It's no longer science fiction, it's really science fact these days.
I couldn't make it correlate to anything that I'd ever seen before.
Oh, there we go.
Gone. It's gone. Seems to be playing some sort of game.
We might not be the only intelligence here in the universe.
These crafts defy the known laws of physics.
Cannot identify it. It has such speed.
We cannot ignore the possibility that some objects in the sky are of extraterrestrial origin. In our case is whether we are unique as an intelligent species, or maybe there is a smarter kid on our cosmic block.
Cineflex is just one of many companies that you can go up now onto the net and punch in the title Close Encounters Down Under, and you will find it streaming.
They will direct you to streaming service.
There are 6 episodes, and as we laid it out for them, because we were the ones kept on writing pictures for this program, that finally got up. Queensland's tropical coast, New Zealand and Bass Strait, Queensland and Papua New Guinea, Melbourne and regional Victoria, New South Wales and Western Australia, and regional Australia. Now, I found when I did to catch a flying star, the regional Australia is where it's at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the pragmatism of people who work off the land, they know their star field, they know when something completely unusual
Is
to
happening.
their
Yeah.
virtual 24-hour schedule
Sure.
has changed.
Sure.
So I'm very excited to see that
Yeah.
series up. I want to thank Match Merch, David. From EQ Media. Incredible job, gentlemen.
Mm.
And let's get some copies of it. I haven't
I
even
liked all
seen an
those.
episode
I liked
yet.
all those knickknacks in there.
All
It's like
those
looking at
knickknacks.
our stuff.
The only place that hasn't got a wavery screen like us
Yeah.
behind them is basically a lot of it is shot in the archive.
It is, yeah. Well, yeah, there was a few talking heads there that was in the archives. And yes,
So-
that was me in the beginning.
Yeah, it was. Beautiful shot of you.
Oh, God.
Talking about
Anyway.
the Valentage case.
I had a lot of weight on me.
Oh, don't
Still got
worry
a lot
about
of
it.
weight on
No,
now, but
listen.
anyway.
We've all got a lot of
Yeah,
things
yeah,
we've got
yeah.
to work on.
COVID weight.
Don't beat
Anyway,
up on yourself.
I'm
We're in our
not.
60s, Aspasia.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
All right.
During the
So that
pandemic,
was-
here's a little bit of icing on that cake. This photo came through out at, was this Tullamarine? I think it was.
Yeah, it was.
And as you can see there, and this was actually sent to me, I'm just going to use the word Andrew.
Mhm.
It's a beautiful shot.
Yep.
Very early in the morning. I think it was about 4:55
Mhm.
a.m.
Yeah.
And that anomalous object was hovering in the distance behind this.
So you can see
Air
that
Force
tiny
craft.
little white light there.
Yeah.
Over
But
the
what
top
I've
of it.
done
Yeah.
is
You
there
went
is
in,
much more
yeah.
to this photograph than meets the eye.
Yeah.
So let's hit this section. If you
So-
can see this here,
Yeah.
and it's really difficult. Up the top, there are three
You can't see it
dots
that clearly.
above it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just zoomed in a bit, but you still can't see the three other white lights that are hovering above that larger light down the bottom that
Yeah.
further down.
Yeah, you can
on top of the
vaguely
plane.
see them
Yeah,
there.
It's not
I
that
wasn't
clear.
too good with that, was
No.
I?
Well, we can only work with what we've got.
But it just shows you things just never change.
No.
And I think that's a great shot.
So
in
Andrew
itself.
saw that like
He was getting
really
ready.
clearly and went,
Yeah.
wow, what are they?
And
over
there's
the
a
airport.
pilot
Yep.
basically sending me up shots saying this is an anomaly.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said off the record that it was, he was alerted to it by the control tower. So,
so they were aware.
I don't know whether they're getting radar on it, but
Mhm.
they certainly had a visual on it.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things that's happening at the moment, Aspasia,
Yeah.
is the fast radio
They've
burst.
been happening for a little while now, haven't they? How long?
2007 was
Okay.
when they started to receive them.
So 2007. Yeah, okay.
Now,
Wow.
do you know that a fast radio
10,
burst puts out
16 years now it's been going on.
more energy
Mhm.
in a millisecond
Yeah.
than the sun does in 3 days?
That's a lot of energy.
And they're like a directed particle weapon.
Yeah, yeah.
They last for about 3 milliseconds, and they say they repeat very little. Well, recently
no,
they've
yeah.
started up a major array
Absolutely.
in Western Australia,
Mhm.
the CSIRO, and they are repeating.
They are.
And they're not coming from deep space where we've been
Where
led to
they thought,
believe. They're
yes.
coming from closer and
Closer.
closer.
So-
I'm quite illiterate on the topic of fast
Oh,
radio
you're a little
bursts,
bit
but
more literate than I am.
but I know
yeah.
that there is something genuinely anomalous to them, and that Australia is one of the major detection facilities.
Yeah.
If you are fascinated, please go online.
Mhm.
Even the questionable Wikipedia
Mm.
has some very interesting
Facts,
information
yeah.
about fast
So in
radio
Western
bursts.
Australia, they've put in an array of telescopes to track them, haven't they?
Yes,
Because
yeah.
they know that it's something really anomalous, don't they?
Oh, they
Yeah,
totally
yeah,
do.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I mean, there's so many different reasons why they could be happening.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit
That's
of
a bit
news.
of the news. What's
That's
happening?
a
in
little
the-
bit of
yeah,
news.
Yeah.
Now we're
In
going to
our
go
world, yeah.
go to views, which
Oh,
is
yes.
documentaries and films.
Movies
and there is
yeah,
tons of
things
them.
that are coming out.
But
Yeah.
here's
literature.
sorry,
well, we
I
did a
keep
bit of a
moving
literature
there.
in there, but yeah.
It's the
Anyway.
agitation of my body. Let's have a look at this and we can speak about it after.
Okay.
But I say that this is very similar
Mm.
to work done by Project Starlight,
Yep.
Ray Stanford in the
Mhm.
70s,
Yep.
or the man behind the scenes on 2001 in Close Encounters.
Donald Trumbull.
Donald Trumbull.
Douglas, sorry. Douglas
Trumbull. I
Yeah,
always get that
Douglas.
name wrong.
I know.
Douglas Trumbull. Now, Douglas gave us 2 astounding films.
He
He
did.
gave us Natalie Wood's last film,
Yep.
Brainstorm. He also gave
Silent
us
Running
Silent Running.
with Bruce Dern.
That's right.
Yep.
So what they're doing here is, and this is this amoral nature of film, they've actually turned what should be a little TV series into a feature documentary.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And they've got 5 days, 2 nights or something. I don't know what's going on
So this
here.
is Tear in the Sky by 1091, the company.
What has made mankind is an insatiable curiosity. Insatiable. What is that? Nobody knows. The phenomenon.
Nobody's ever done this as far as I know.
It's a huge amount of work, a huge amount of data and equipment. That has never been done.
Whatever this is more complex than we could ever imagine.
This is a first in the field of ufology.
The variety of devices we're bringing as a team to study the phenomenon covered an entire spectrum of different technologies in real time.
That moment shook me to the core because I knew my life was about to change again.
I think we're going to have like a couple of really, really good spots.
When I hear that you've assembled a team of top scientists using state-of-the-art equipment, I say to myself, it's about time.
This is an unidentified, unclassified new phenomenon.
Wow, Tic Tacs.
Basic.
Navy Tic Tacs.
Maybe.
Caught on our cameras.
Yep.
That's incredible.
Crazy. It isn't crazy, it's crazy. It's crazy.
We can go from body heat to very cold, like about minus 62 Celsius or minus 80 Fahrenheit. Wow. We will be transmitting data up to 800 terahertz in frequency. Our highest technology is up around 500 gigahertz.
I can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to seeing what you've uncovered.
We're triangulating and converging at 2 points, the same object.
It's fading.
It's gone.
It's gone.
It's friggin' gone.
That's something over, Catalina. We need you up here.
We could be heading towards the biggest see I told you so in history.
That's what we need, the smoking gun that'll clinch it. That once and for all will settle the debate. No ifs, ands, or buts. And in the process, rewrite all of human history.
Oh my God, you guys. Is this the wormhole? It's insane.
Gee, I love that lingo. It's insane. It's crazy.
Is that a
You know
tear or a
what?
tear in the sky?
I tell you what, that tonsillitis I've got has come from inhaling so many fumes from so many smoking guns over so many years. I'm dying from it.
Can I just, the first thing that struck me about that was the way that this, it goes, this has never been done before. It's like, I'm sorry. You're not doing anything new. You're just filming at this time. Let's go to in Scandinavia. Where is Hestelund, where they've had cameras pointed.
They've got a 24-hour CCTV cam that you can go online and look at it.
It's like, what are they doing? And they've been trying to film UFOs because it's that
not that
is
they've
a
been
high,
trying to.
Well,
they
they've been
have.
filming, but they've had cameras there for years doing that exact same thing.
It was one of the
I don't know
last-
what kind of researchers they had on that program, but they should have known that they're not doing anything new. These people think that they're inventing all this stuff.
Inventing the wheel.
I'm sorry, you're not. You're not.
And
where
and-
else have
as
what was
much
that?
as
The Starlight Project
Yeah,
in the
Ray
70s.
Stanford. Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, who are these people? What
Douglas
kind of
Trumbull-
research are they doing?
Douglas Trumbull had actually spoken live about utilizing night vision,
Yep.
thermal imaging. He
he's
had poured
created-
millions of
yep.
dollars into it.
Yep.
And he was also trying to actually, and Doug Hychek would know all about
Mm.
Douglas, because Douglas was an incredible tech inventor as
Absolutely.
well. He was inventing a three-dimensional insertion you actually insert yourself into its cinema.
Immersive.
So
he did immersive. Yeah.
Immersive.
So he also did the 70 millimeter technique
with the sped up.
With a sped up, 60 frames per second instead of the 24 frames per second for 16 millimeter or 35 millimeter. Look, Douglas Trumbull did he was the special effects on 2001 A Space Odyssey. He did Blade Runner. He did Star Trek, the motion picture. He worked on all
Close
those.
Encounters of the
Well,
Third
Close
Kind.
Encounters of
But
the
you
Third
know what?
Kind.
He set up this company called UFO Log.
Yes.
And it was all about using state-of-the-art detection equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And he was going to actually do a fictional movie, but using all the real material.
Yeah.
And he actually was blocked
from
doing it. So
couldn't get
do
funding
some
for
research
it.
on that.
Oh, my God.
And, you know, obviously that...
but they have to hype it up. I mean, because they're not going to say, oh, well, it's been done so many times before, but we're going to get we're going to get all the goods on this one. They have to, Anyway,
I'd love to see what they came up with, but unfortunately,
probably nothing.
It's when you've got such limited time, they will find
5
things.
Days.
It's nothing. It's
No.
nothing.
No.
This one of the things here. One of our problems is consistency.
That's Hesteland in Norway, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
And who is the guy that organised that? What's his name?
There are so many.
Oh, who's the main guy that
I know that Heineck was down there towards the end of his life too.
he was.
Jacques Vallée has been there.
No, what's trying to think of the guy's name now.
Let's not worry about that. You'll get
It'll
stuck on it.
come to me during the show. Okay.
James Fox has another documentary out now. James Fox has probably given us some of the most brilliant, authoritative, and well-researched, really meticulously researched.
I was a bit devoed when Phenomenon came out, because it was supposed to get this huge cinema release, but because of COVID, it never happened.
And you know what?
Kind of died in the arse.
I've actually been trying. No, it didn't die in the
arse.
No.
But I mean, it didn't profound. No. Of course, the documentary is profound, but I mean, the hype that would have been created around it at the time. If cinemas were still going like they were before pre-COVID, then we would have been, it would have got a spotlight shone on that movie.
I think one of the saddest things is that Tracy Torme, the son of the Velvet Fog, Mel Torme, who had a UFO experience. Dad had a UFO experience riding his Harley Davidson in New York City.
That'd do it.
Anyway, he's not well.
No.
I've actually
I've
sent him a few messages, and I've also said desperately, we'd love to get you on the podcast. Let's see what happens there. So out of the blue, I know what I saw.
Yeah, Phenomenon.
And now,
In 1996, the people of Varginha, Brazil, witnessed a UFO event that would change their lives forever.
Só que ele planava, ia perdendo lentamente a altitude e ia caminhando.
Followed another Roswell, if you will. That is a crashed vehicle that had beings on board.
Mas que eles não poderiam admitir a verdade, a população ia entrar em colapso.
Nada temos a esconder. Finally, the facts will be revealed.
The Virginia case is considered the most well-kept secret in the military circles of Brazil.
My objective here is to put some clarity on what took place in Varginha, Brazil, January 1996.
2 seres extraterrestres foram capturados e depois, posteriormente, foram levados para o hospital.
The witnesses are some of the most compelling testimony I've ever heard.
Meu nome é Carlos de Souza.
Meu nome é Cátia Xavier.
Meu nome é Liliane Silva.
Meu nome é Valquíria Silva.
Em 1996, eu vi uma criatura estranha ali.
Action! A lot of people in this town have a little piece of the puzzle.
Naquele local, eu vi o rastro da criatura pé.
Foi onde ele falou que eu vi era uma coisa sobrenatural.
This year,
Mark Pellichrez, he had captured this creature with his bare hands.
Você confirma que o seu irmão estava de serviço naquele dia 20?
Confirmo.
After he captured the creature, he developed this infection that wouldn't go away.
Foi pro CTI de manhã, 7 horas da manhã, 15 para o meio-dia ele veio a óbito.
This can no longer be covered up.
They might shoot us because we're on the property.
This can't be denied.
Bateram na porta. E aí eles falaram pra mim.
Ficar quieto.
Se qualquer iria sofrer uma punição muito severa.
This was proof.
We pull this off. It'll be the most compelling testimony revealed.
Of contact.
Aqui, ó. Foi aqui.
This is a level of confirmation that only a handful of people on this planet have.
I'll tell you what, he's done it again, and so has 1091.
But again, can I just say, in 1996, you and I were so aware of this story. It was worldwide news in the UFO community at the time.
UFO community.
In the UFO community.
But there was so little we knew about the story.
Well, we kind of knew, that there was these 3 girls had come across this creature, and I'd seen it. We'd seen interviews from them. I mean, it wasn't it. So
well, I actually phoned and spoke to Michael Hesselman.
Yes.
Hesselman. What am I saying? Hesselman.
Hesselman. That's who Michael Hesselman was, the guy that was doing the Hesselman stuff, wasn't he?
And he'd gone and initially investigated
Absolutely.
and said that they were astounding eyewitnesses, and it was very difficult to see anything but the truth in this case. And then it started to get deeper and darker.
Yeah.
And there were
shut down
several ETs involved.
Yes.
Now, I don't like to use that word because you and I refuse to have a hypothesis on any of this material.
But this is what
that's their
these people were
statements.
claiming, and that's, and that's what happened with them. So I don't know. You've got to go with the evidence.
All right. So
I'm really excited about seeing that.
Well, that is streaming out there. But I'm going to tell you a great place to go to look at documentaries if you're sick of having 20 different streaming accounts. And it's really expensive after a while.
Oh, it does get,
Go
it adds up.
onto Tubi, Tubi TV.
Yep.
You will have to deal with the bombardment of ads.
Well,
But it is the price you pay for not having to
pay a price.
throw your dollars into that streaming service.
Yeah.
And there is a great new documentary on a subject that you and I are not incredibly literate on, but we are fascinated by.
Absolutely.
And know there is a true reality to it.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this giant figure, huge, 8 feet tall, non-human gait. I'm trying to classify what this thing is, but it's not real. And I know what it is, but what it is not real.
The arms
is one of the most unusual animals found on Florida's shore.
I'm looking at this giant figure, huge, 8 feet tall, non-human gait. I'm trying to classify what this thing is, but it's not real. And I know what it is, but what it is not real.
The arms of these things went well below their knees, unbelievably long arms.
When I looked up, there was a young male looking at me.
Something's going around my tent. It stops behind me, and then contact.
We really tried to get pictures, but these things seem to outfox us.
Something is leaving footprints.
As you start utilizing the data and you start seeing the data tell the story, the whole story unfolds right before your eyes.
The way it pulled its little one, its young behind it with its arm. I mean, I can't even put it in words. It was so unreal.
Knowing about them, they seemed too intelligent for me to consider them as something you could go out and hunt like an animal. That is, whoa.
So these were brought here.
I had one client talk about how muscular it was and how broad its shoulders were and how it's just was in awe of this incredibly majestic creature.
You will always have that with you. You will always remember that moment.
When he was walking away, I called out to him, "You're the most beautiful creature in the world. Please don't go."
I was that person. I did not believe. I just thought it was a myth.
Open up your minds because they're out there.
And the extraordinary Ron Moorhead there, who you can actually listen to on numerous Untold Radio podcasts. And he's got those incredible voice and sound stuff. Ron is just exceptional. But that looks like an absolutely beautiful documentary.
And it's on Tubi,
It's on
Tubi. And it's all you have to do is just sign up and you can watch. There's so much good stuff on there.
And there's nothing to the sign up. There's nothing or that you're not going to be charged. So
No.
and go and have a look. The other thing that's maybe let's go to one quick more trailer. Can you actually take it to the trailer section?
Yeah.
And the other stuff that's on Tubi, go back up, please. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I was looking for. Oh no, there we are. This is on Tubi for people to watch free too. And please go. Our smallest numbered podcasts. Don Mears is one of them.
And Matt Pole.
Yeah, and Matt Pole. Please go and look at those podcasts if you haven't. I mean, what an incredible thing to actually get an Indigenous Australian that is a curator for a major museum, is curated for universities here, to actually speak about the cryptozoological world in terms of our Indigenous culture. Yeah, but let's maybe just quickly, I'm gonna jump into this. Did you have something to say there?
Well, we just wanted to...
I know we were going to do that segue. I'll do that after this.
Okay, no problem.
Because this segue works as well.
Let's turn now to the Aussie, determined to prove there's life beyond Earth.
Well, it's the ultimate question about planet Earth. Are we alone? And one Australian man is determined to answer it.
He has the world's biggest collection of photos and videos of unidentified flying objects.
Todo el mundo como Damien Not. Nueva cuenta el Skywatcher de Australia, Damien Not.
He has the biggest collection of photos and videos of unidentified flying objects in the world.
My name is Don Mears. I am the director of a production company called Dojo Media. I'm on my way to spend 4 days with an Australian ufologist by the name of Damien Knott, who claims to have captured over 2,000 photographs and video of unidentified flying objects and paranormal phenomena. The first goal of this film is to see if we can start to understand what is happening to Damien and other people like him. Secondly, I want to try and work out what these objects are that he is seeing. And lastly, I want to see one of these objects up close and personal for myself. This is Australian Skies.
And so the reason why I wanted to play that trailer after is it's on Tubi.
It's on Tubi
and
as well.
Australian Skies 2 is on Tubi. And Don Mears is on one of our very first podcasts.
Yep.
I think number 2, basically.
Is
Don
it?
is,
Okay,
after Meet the Host.
Well, then he is the first interviewee on the
You don't need
podcast.
to go and look at Meet the Host. Go and look at Don Mears and then go and look at number 4, which is Matt Pole. They both need their numbers up and they're both incredible people.
Absolutely.
We're in an evolutionary stage there and we should have had more visual media with Don Mears. Don
Well, we
breaks
didn't, but no, no.
every notion of a documentarian.
Yeah.
He's through the fourth wall before you take a breath. But in a sense, he deserves to be.
Absolutely.
Because these documentaries are independently done. There is no funding bodies, no outside funding, no government funding.
No.
And he's already done 3. He's done
Yes,
the
he
Mystery
does.
of the Min Min Light as well,
Yeah.
in which yours truly appears.
And that Damien not being, well, we know a lot of, again, these claims are always made, but, we know of one person that has got like a lot of photographs. He's like a bit like a Damien Knott person that he can actually go out and start looking at the sky and then within minutes something manifests and he can take photos of it because there's a few people like
The
that that can
interesting
do
thing with our gentleman that I want to get on the podcast,
That's
I want
what
to
I'm
get his
that's
film
the one
footage,
I'm talking about.
But it's always a matter of respecting people and their
Absolutely.
situation,
Yep.
not putting them in a matter of ridicule.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so he's still a bit iffy.
Yep.
But this person is an editor
Mhm.
for sports.
Right.
and has to do a lot of slowing down and going frame by frame.
Yeah, and
it's through that he's started to witness the material that he's filmed.
Yes,
is actually it's there in like a fraction of a second.
Yeah, yeah.
And so
exactly.
it's our ability
Is that the veil
to be
again? Is that the veil?
Could be the veil.
Yeah.
Let's give Chris a ring directly after this show.
All right. So
there was an odd synchronicity that hit us this week,
Mhm.
and I always find that things to do with the paranormal is the normal.
Yeah,
I've been
it's
screaming
not
that
that
phrase
para.
for about
It's
a
not that
year,
para.
and then
Yeah.
I see this book,
Yeah.
and do you believe it?
It's written on the
He's
back.
taken the words right out of my mouth, and they're his words. There
And
is
like
no
a bat out of
supernatural-
hell.
Yeah.
Right.
But when you get
Sorry.
ill, those things seem to be heightened.
Sure.
To a certain extent.
Mhm.
And I had a weird moment of synchronicity.
Yeah, you did. You
and
did.
listening to the cast, all of a sudden, bang, there
Yeah.
was material that appeared. I went down to get the latest issue of Fortean Times, which is 3
Which we
months
do.
behind.
It's the only magazine we buy.
How about this?
Yeah.
In Search of the British Bigfoot.
Yeah, because when it comes to Bigfoot, Yeti and the Yowie, you associate
And
them
a
with
1,000 other names.
well, yeah, but they're the Sasquatch Bigfoot. You attribute to North America. The
Exactly.
Yeti you attribute to the Himalayas,
Yeah.
right? And the Yowie is attributed to Australia.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, that's it, done. But and you think that's the only places that they're at, but it's not. They're actually everywhere.
You know what? There's
Everywhere.
not a gigantic amount of physical evidence
Mm.
for the British Bigfoot.
Well, you only need one footprint.
And
don't
you know
you?
what? To me,
But look at this. Yeah.
and a lot of researchers will say, well, eyewitness testimony, you can.
Yeah.
But I am really, because our background in mental health
Mm.
and dealing with people in stressful situations
Yeah.
and things like that, looking for post-traumatic stress disorder, I really think there is a lot of information in eyewitness accounts.
Yeah.
And to me, it's not a matter of wanting to resolve this conundrum
Mm.
and find out, is this there, is it not? When I hear one solid eyewitness testimony
Mhm.
and realize that this person is speaking their
Yeah.
truth
Yeah.
and have signs of post-traumatic stress disorder, I don't care
Yeah.
what this phenomena is. I want to help that person
Yeah.
get back to
Integrate
a
it.
point
Yeah.
where they can integrate their experience in their life.
Yeah.
And in the civil court of law, you would hold up eyewitness testimony on the scales of justice
Yeah.
next to science or reductionism.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, you do take eyewitness testimony into account.
Yeah, you do. Well, you
And
kind
so
of have to.
That was a little map of some recent incidents.
Mm.
But look, up on Tubi,
Yep.
you can go to this film.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Elusive Bigfoot Abroad.
Yes, which
So-
is all about the search for the British Bigfoot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you have any queries or questions, please go and check them out. But, let's have a look at our thermal footage
Oh yeah.
that we had last week. Just have a little peek. Can you run that for me?
Yes,
there,
I
Aspasia, my
can.
dear?
Yes, I
This, of
can.
course, comes from our remarkable guest.
That was an amazing podcast
It's the
last
highest
week.
rating
wasn't it?
podcast we're ever going to have. I'll tell you that much.
It's downhill from there, you reckon?
Let's look at their thermal footage.
Yep.
There we go.
Yep.
Now, this is granted only 6.5 seconds, and people will
Mm.
say, well, thermal footage doesn't prove anything.
Well, it kind of
It does
but anyway,
prove with
yeah.
these guys
Yeah.
what
Oh,
they're
look,
doing.
you can. That is so clear when it goes down and then when it comes back up again.
It's
know,
amazing.
yeah.
Can you give us one more run on that?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. There we go.
So I want to thank Dean Harrison, the
Gary
boys,
Lynn
and
and Buck Buckingham.
Yep, and
Yep.
Sarah
Yeah, Sarah Bignall.
for being part of the Untold Radio Network and taking the jewels in their crown and exposing them to us. So just check this out. Now, if you overlay that, gives you the sloping forehead,
Yeah.
gives you the opposite direction. It gives you all those ideas that one of them could be hugging a tree and the other one is bending down to pick something up.
Yeah, it's definitely picking
Yeah.
something up.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
So
Yeah.
if you drop
Very
that out, let's
interesting.
do one more thermal go, one more time. No,
Oh,
no.
you want to you want to play it again?
Oh, yeah, I'm
Good
just in
God.
love with this footage.
Jesus. Okay.
Wow. Thank you to Yowie Hunters. Please go up online and check out their astounding sites on YouTube and Yowie, Australian Yowie Research.
Yep.
.com
There we go.
online. So incredible material.
Okay.
Where are we heading to at the moment?
We're going to Lost Media now.
Oh, we are going to Lost Media.
No, we did the views. We've done the run through film. Oh, I know. It's Lost Media.
Lost Media.
Lost Media.
And that's what we love. That's what we've been for.
That's what we've been
tracking down. We've got some very rare UFO documentaries.
We do.
That may be the only 16mm versions of them in the world. We'll get to them somewhere down the track in this podcast.
That Australian documentary that was done in the 70s. 1974, was it?
Yes.
What was it called again?
Roger Klimpson's UFOs Here and Now?
Yeah, Here and Now.
I think so. Maybe I've got the title wrong there. You shouldn't ask me these questions. You should just make the statement so we appear far more literate.
Than we are.
All right.
Okay, so Lost Media. What have we found?
Okay.
We're always trawling through.
I'm going to take people back to what I believe is the very first film footage, newsreel footage.
Yeah.
Very first time in popular culture, around about 2 to 3 years after the Kenneth Arnold sighting.
Right, 1947. So we were talking about
a little condensed
1950?
News story appeared. It's about 9 minutes.
So did it appear on television?
No, this was a theatrical. This would have been for the cinema.
Right, okay.
Okay. And you will see people like the astounding Frank Scully.
Yeah. Is Donald
Captain Donald Kehoe.
Yeah.
So early ufological, but this is just a quirky piece of wonder.
Do you think they were perception managing it then, or
I'm sure they were.
Yeah,
I'm sure they were.
Okay,
they would have been perception managing
from the
this
moment
before anything occurred.
Okay, all right.
The flying saucer, a 20th century mystery, cannot be ignored. The strange discs have been reported by sober Americans since 1947. Just what did these people see? Man has dreamt of flight, of conquering gravity from ancient times to the present. In imagination, he has traveled the skies in fantastic machines. 50 years ago, this flying saucer was an illustration for H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. Are the flying saucers things of fantasy? Some say they're natural objects, meteors or bright stars, transformed by imagination into discs of mystery. Others say the saucers are weather balloons, common enough in the sky and easily mistaken for a disc. These theories were checked when the armed forces investigated the flying saucers. Admiral Calvin Bolster of the Navy's Bureau of Aeronautics gives his conclusion.
These balloons might explain isolated cases of circular-shaped, unidentified objects flying at altitudes, extreme altitudes that have been reported. However, I do not feel that these balloons explain the majority of the so-called flying saucer sightings that have appeared in the press.
People saw something not a balloon, not a meteor, not a hallucination. Reliable witnesses have sighted them over nearly every major city, along our air lanes, over secret research areas. In True magazine, Commander Robert McLaughlin, a Navy guided missiles expert, told of flying saucers detected by radar over White Sands, New Mexico. Scientists were tracking a rocket, suddenly detected a saucer at 56 miles altitude. Over 100 feet in diameter, the disk was traveling at 1,800 miles per hour, rapidly outranged their instruments. But there had been time for precise, accurate measurements. Says McLaughlin, that saucer could not have been made on Earth. Airline pilots with thousands of hours' experience have reported saucers coming within a few hundred feet of their planes, matching speed briefly, and then darting off at supersonic speed, leaving a glowing exhaust trail. Student pilot Arthur Weisberger reports on his experience.
My name is Arthur Weisberger. On July 21st in Tucson, Arizona, while out in my backyard, 3 shiny objects in the sky attracted my attention. I glanced up and there were 3 flying saucers in a V. Approximately a half a mile away from me at an altitude of 350 feet. They appear to be hovering in midair with what I believe to be a spinning action. The saucers stayed still for approximately 40 seconds and then took off due north horizontally. From a dead stop, these saucers exceeded a rate of 500 miles an hour for approximately 5 seconds, still going horizontally due north towards the Santa Catalina Mountains. At the end of 5 seconds, they went at approximately 45 degrees straight, well, up. They exceeded 1,000 miles an hour until they vanished from sight. They appeared to be 50 feet in diameter, with what appeared to be a dome on the top with, I can't be sure, but I believe I saw the sun glinting off of, well, windows or observation portholes of sort.
What people saw is revealed clearly by this remarkable international news photo, the first ever taken of a flying saucer. It's one of 2 pictures made early this year by farmer Paul Trent of McMinnville, Oregon. Enlarged, the photo reveals clearly the familiar disc shape. Trent was able to snap only 2 photos of the saucer. He estimates the size at about 20 or 30 feet. Says that from a near hovering position when first seen, it accelerated rapidly and vanished from sight in no time at all. Note the control tower in the center, referred to by Weisberger. This enlargement shows it to be vertical compared with the saucer's angle of flight. Sid Mortner, executive editor of International News Photos, comments on these unusual pictures.
Our agency refused to release photographs of a purported flying saucer to the newspapers of the country until we could inspect the original negatives. We now have the negatives in hand, and I can vouch for the fact that they have not been retouched or faked in any way, and that they are indeed actual photographs of a so-called flying saucer.
Latest evidence in the saucer mystery are these exclusive motion picture films from Louisville, Kentucky, the first scenes ever made of a flying saucer. Note the white halo around the saucer, an effect reported by some observers. Slightly irregular in shape, the disc appears to be rotating and to possess a dancing motion against the background. A staff cameraman of TV station WHAS was on routine assignment when he heard a loud whooshing sound overhead. Looking up, he saw the saucer hovering in the sky. After 2 minutes, the disc accelerated and vanished directly upwards. An investigation revealed no weather balloons aloft at the time. Are the saucers a U.S. secret weapon? This is officially denied. Here, Admiral Bolster speaks for the Navy.
In my position in the Research and Development Organization of the Bureau of Aeronautics and of the Navy Department, I am thoroughly familiar with both our aircraft and our guided missiles programs and can state without reservation that the Navy has no saucer-shaped aircraft or missile in any of these programs.
Many authoritative sources, including U.S. News and World Report, have declared otherwise. These sources say the discs are jet craft developed from an experimental Navy fighter of 1945. But only one model of this plane ever flew, says the Navy. Some experts point out that only 30 years ago, rocket development was in this crude state. In 2 decades, German scientists developed these primitive rockets into the fearsome V-2. No major improvement on the V-2 has been made public since the war, despite intensive research by U.S. engineers in cooperation with German rocket specialists. Are the saucers the secret descendants of the V-2? The author of this book, Annapolis-trained ex-Marine Major Donald Kehoe, says the saucers are not from this earth, that they far outperform any craft that man can build today.
After a 1 year's investigation, I believe that the flying saucers seen by veteran airline and Air Force pilots are objects from another planet. The Air Force itself has officially admitted that flying saucers exist. This statement appears in Project Saucer Case number 75. Not only that, the Air Force has officially analyzed the motives of possible visitors from space. Here is a direct quotation from the official report. Such a civilization might observe that on Earth we now have atomic bombs and our fast-developing rockets. In the past history of mankind, they should be alarmed. We should therefore expect at this time above all to behold such visitations.
Agreeing with Kehoe is Commander McLaughlin. From his observations, we the people constructed this model of a flying saucer as it might appear in interplanetary space. Our eyes from another world looking at this scene, a saucer's eye view of our planet, filmed at a height of 57 miles. These scenes were made from a remote control Army rocket. But today, visitors from space may be studying us from similar heights.
The flying saucer mystery.
That last thing looked like a
1950.
pikelet
It did
to
look
me.
like a pikelet. But it's really astounding to see, go back in time. And sometimes I believe, you know,
It's all there.
it's there in plain sight.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as Roger was saying to us from MUFON, sometimes we need to go back. It's a lot clearer to actually see the truth in that data.
Yeah.
Disclosure was there from the very beginning. Every eyewitness, every person who's had an experience is part of disclosure.
Yeah.
But also the courage for someone like Major Kehoe
Oh, yeah.
to actually come out against the Air Force and to cry conspiracy so early
Back
in the
then,
piece.
yeah.
So if you haven't read his literature, please
pretty
do
good,
that.
yeah.
And he was part of a number of suppressions.
Oh, yeah,
on
there's that television one.
Yeah, of course there is. And also Murrow.
Yeah.
Edward.
No, Edward R. Murrow.
He actually did an astounding
He did an
program on
album.
UFOs.
He did he
No,
put out
he didn't put out an album. You're thinking of what are you doing to me here today?
Okay, sorry.
You're actually he didn't put out an album, but there's our radio program you can listen to online, and Major Kehoe is part of the people speaking on that program.
Isn't there an album we've got by Edward R. Murrow?
No, there's by the man who was married to Candy Jones, the mind control sex slave.
Okay.
Which is Keeble?
Long John Nebel.
Long John Nebel.
Sorry.
Keeble. Sorry, my
That's all
illness
right. Yeah, I
and
know.
everything.
You're not
I
feeling
told
well.
you to stop doing this to me.
Sorry, darling.
Don't take me to task.
Okay.
Well, recently we interviewed George Simpson.
Yes, we did.
And what was the name of his book? I'm going to ask you a question now. On the
no, Nothing on Radar.
Nothing on Radar, which was on the Frederick Valentich case.
That's right. And
did you speak about in the trailer?
That's right. And that voiceover about the plane, the plane that something's is from the Robert what's his name?
What is wrong with you?
The Valentich case. That's him talking about.
That's him doing the transcript.
Doing the transcript.
Because they are not allowed to have the original audio for some reason or another.
Yeah.
Well, there was a documentary in the mid-70s. I think it was the very last time that Rod Serling actually did narration for anything.
Yeah.
And it was produced, oddly enough, by a man whose name would become quite predominant in ufology after that, and that is Robert Emmenegger.
Yes.
Now, Robert Emmenegger did a lot of industrial film work for the military. And then all of a sudden was told about mid-75 that he would be the man to disclose to the American public that there was genuine phenomena.
Yeah.
And he would be given unlimited access to the Air Force's
archives,
film archives.
Yeah.
And that was actually seconded on our incredibly bizarre UFO cover-up live in the late 80s, when we did have the head of their audio-visual department on TV stating we were giving them the footage but at the midnight hour. Now, that is such an astounding story.
Mm.
And I'm not going to go into depth with it here.
No.
But I am going to show you a section from this film.
Mm-hmm.
It goes under two titles.
Oh, yes.
Past, present, and future. UFOs, past, present, and future.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we got it wrong before. I think it was UFOs here and now.
Yeah.
I think that's the other title. But
title.
past, present, and future. Robert and
I think the
Emininger.
Australian one is UFOs are real.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it, or is that the Stanton Freeman one?
No.
We are getting so confused here. Don't even build on it. But anyway, our apologies.
Yeah.
There are just so many documentaries in our head, and we've got copies of all of them. But over the years,
they start to meld, don't they? after a
anyway,
while?
this is very similar
Mm.
to what Valentich was saying was happening to him. Happens to these military pilots. So let's have a little look at this. You can actually go on YouTube and watch this film for free in its length.
Yep.
And just like the Flying Saucer Mystery, I think both of them have fallen into the world of public domain.
They have.
Burgess Meredith was one of the other narrators on this documentary.
Yep.
Here we go. Oh, what have I done then?
Just show.
I'm studying.
Among the many reports of UFOs in late 1973, one incident would stand out because of the credibility of the four witnesses. This is Major Coyne, Army helicopter pilot, his co-pilot, Lieutenant Arrigo Jetsi, Air Medic Sergeant Healy, and Robert Janicek. These men had just finished their annual flight physical early that day and were found fit and sound of mind. They would take off from Port Columbus Airport about 10:30 p.m. But what was about to follow, and the subsequent report they filed, would put to the test the credibility of these men.
Approximately 8 miles east of Mansfield, our crew chief, Sergeant Robert Janicek, observed a red light on the east horizon.
Did you gentlemen see the same red light?
Yes, I did. Our helicopter was flying on a northerly heading. We were flying at an altitude of 2,500 feet. He indicated that the light seemed to be pacing the helicopter, moving along in a parallel direction with our aircraft.
Which direction from the helicopter was he at?
Moving, it was to our right, to the right side of the helicopter, and it was moving with us as we were heading north towards Cleveland. And at this time, he indicated that the light changed its direction, was coming directly at the helicopter at the same altitude. And as the helicopter was maintaining a speed of 90 knots, the object came at a terrific speed from the horizon. We estimated 15 miles. Visibility was reported 15 miles that night.
Did you gentlemen see the object at this time, after it had been pointed out by the sergeant?
No, not at that time. I was flying left seat or co-pilot, and visibility from that seat from an object approaching from the right is rather limited. So I was having difficulty seeing the object. And it was for that reason that Major Coyne did take the aircraft or the controls from me.
I grabbed the controls from Lieutenant Jetsi because I thought it was going to hit us. I braced for impact. With that, I pushed the collective down to get the helicopter to start to descend. I then looked at the altimeter. It was showing 1,700 feet. We were descending 1,000 feet a minute. The helicopter began to descend, and as this object came at the helicopter, it seemed to descend with the helicopter. When the helicopter went down, the object came down, but it still came directly at our broadside, as if to hit the helicopter from the right side.
Did anyone else see the object at this time?
Yes, I was watching it come on out of the east horizon. And the only thing I felt was when the skipper took over the controls and we started to auto-rotate down, and I'd never been involved in a mid-air collision, so I was just watching this thing come at us. It was at this time a light came, swung 90 degrees from the UFO towards the helicopter, and it came in through the front of the plexiglass, and the entire cabin inside turned green from the light. It was a pyramid-shaped type of light that beamed down and came through the front of the helicopter.
How long was your aircraft bathed in this beam?
The light that came into the cockpit apparently lasted only for a few seconds, but it was enough time that I observed the red instrument panel lights utilized for night flying to be absorbed by the green light.
Was it possible for you to determine the outline of this object against the star background?
Yes, sir. It was a cigar-shaped object, like a symmetrical airfoil with the dome on it. It was a solid object. It was a metallic structure to it. And you could see lights reflecting off the structure, and you could not see any of the stars or behind the object itself.
Well, while all this was going on, what was the attitude of the helicopter?
Apparently, when we were supposed to be descending at 2,000 feet a minute at 100 knots, we were climbing at 1,000 feet a minute with the controls still established for a descent. And we went from 1,700 feet up to 3,500 feet and topped out at 3,800 feet. I would like to stress one important fact, and that is there is approximately 20 years of Army aviation experience between the 4 men on board the helicopter that night. We have been trained to follow procedures and regulations in reporting incidents, regardless of how they're accepted. And we tried to follow those procedures. And we reported the incident as it occurred and have avoided any speculation on the subject.
What you're witnessing is based on fact. Some will find it fascinating. Some may find it frightening. But it is all true. With special thanks to NASA and the Department of Defense for their cooperation in our search for UFOs. It has begun.
Well, I'm really glad that it actually told us the proper title at the end, because don't want to send people on a goose chase.
No.
But the other title is Past, Present, and Future.
Yes, it is.
And I've got a paperback that was attached, was a bit of a sales line during the day for that.
Yeah.
That is an astounding documentary, but that's an even more profound case.
Yeah.
That case went to the United Nations when Kirk Valheim was in there with Gordon Cooper and J. Allen Hynek and numerous other people. And it was seen as such a profound case, but very similar to Frederick Valentich's in terms of the green light coming in taking control of the craft.
Of the instruments. Wow.
Fascinating. All right, check that out online.
Yeah.
Now,
UFOs, it has begun.
Now, tell us about this odd film, which we only came across recently.
Yes, we
did.
It's
from 1977. Never had a US release.
No.
Never had a DVD release. Never had a video release.
It was released in, was it Ireland or England? I think it had
somewhere in Europe.
Not even a theatrical
it's called
release.
Foes.
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 Yep.
And the artwork in it is profound, but the film
it's a really bizarre UFO
mixture
film,
of, and it's very low budget.
It's hardly any budget. I think what it was John Coates, who is the director,
the actor, the producer.
Yeah, he's the lead actor, and the director and the producer. He was showcasing. I think he was trying to showcase his special effects. Right. And the guy that was doing the special effects with him actually went on to work at
Industrial Light
and Magic, right? And so I think it was like he made it as a bit of a show reel to show the ability of his, this.
This is one of the most unique takes
but it's a really
on
bizarre,
the phenomena.
Absolutely.
And it makes you think, was he aware of something that we weren't?
Because
music, but with menace. They came not as friends, but as foes.
General, the object has moved.
What?
It's changed position. Have him turn back immediately.
Base command to rescue unit. Do not approach the island. Turn back at once.
We've sighted it. It's huge. This shape. Goddamn, it's real, all right.
If you've had a close encounter, you might not be ready for another. But it's exactly those who are not ready who get caught.
sealed off, impenetrable.
But why? For what?
Probes. For recon, study, observation.
For an enemy to be destroyed, it must first be identified. But all those who get too close have an encounter of the fourth kind, the permanent kind. Foes.
Well, they want to take us away in that thing. What if they try to hurt us?
Diane.
You don't know what it is, what's inside?
Man has conquered the sky, but from the sky now comes a force to conquer man. They are not afraid to be seen, but will you be afraid to see them?
There's been an explosion with the island. Explosion? A tremendous surge of heat and radiation.
What began as a frightening possibility ends as a terrifying reality.
The signals are from the UFO.
We must make you wait to see what they are, but we can show you how they came. And remember, they came not as friends, but as foes.
Okay.
Here's the beautiful thing about this film is with the state of technology today, Aspasia.
Yes.
That has now got a Blu-ray.
Now it's finally
release.
been released.
So if you actually scroll back, you'll
Yep.
find the company that's
Yep.
released it out there.
Yep.
And if you like the look of it, please.
It's an amazing film.
Go and get yourself a copy.
Mhm.
Now, it's a flawed film.
Oh.
It's what Michael Walden would call a psychotronic
It's
film.
a totally psychotronic
But it
film.
is one of the most unique takes.
Mm.
And the visual imagery, in many ways, is reminiscent of many real cases.
Absolutely.
And that's what really struck me
Mhm.
that's so profound about
Yep.
this film.
Yep.
Was it suppressed in its day? Or was it
I don't know
just
if it was
such a
suppressed, it
low
was just this
budget,
low budget film.
anomaly? It's got
Mhm.
lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've always had a curiosity as to where the truth
Yeah.
actually merges
Merges.
with the fiction,
Well,
merges with the sales reel.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can tell that they were definitely showcasing the special effects on that film.
Yeah, but
they could have done anything, any other film. Why that?
And the other thing is those sources
Mm.
are so much like so many identified
they are.
cases,
They
and
are.
they have the brushed alloy look
Yeah.
to them.
Maybe we should try and find the guy, John Coates,
I think we should.
and if he's still alive.
Yeah.
Because 1977, he was the lead
I love
character. was
tracking
that.
down these people.
Maybe we should and find out why he did. I understand him trying to showcase his special effects, but why a UFO film, especially in 1977?
Now, look, the other thing is, too, I'd like people out there, especially in the Southern Hemisphere,
Mm-hmm.
that have had an incident or are aware of an incident or some astounding research to actually get in touch with us here.
Absolutely.
Just write to us on the YouTube channel and we'll be back in touch with you
straight away.
And we might end up doing an interview with you or any sort of thing. Well, it's such a pleasure and an honor to be part of this extraordinary network.
Yep.
A great sense of comradeship with all our other casters.
Yes, absolutely.
And, excuse us for the crazy week this has been for us, but hopefully next week we'll be back with another profound guest.
Yep.
And I'll be
But
completely
we will be doing
well
more
by
of
then.
these shows because I do like keeping people abreast of what's going on out there.
It's not just that, having a look at all forms of media,
absolutely.
past, present, and future,
Yes, for sure.
emerging medium.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
All right, kids. We will be back next week with another podcast, and thank you for watching.
You've been on Down South Anomalies. My
You
name
have.
is Jane Katz, and that's my wife there, Aspasia, and we're part of the extraordinary, international, and profound. Our lighting rig is collapsing right now.
As we
Perfect
speak,
timing.
time to go.
That is Untold Radio.